Welcome to One on One with Jesus Christ, the show that will keep you informed about the love of God and His gospel.
È la prima volta che si cita proprio il tema benedizioni collegato al tema coppie dello stesso sesso, quindi è un cambiamento importante, quindi si prende coscienza del fatto che ci sono coppie dello stesso sesso e che queste coppie dello stesso sesso possono essere benedette.
This is a bulletin. The Vatican issued a document that lays out the conditions for what such blessings can be. It stresses that the blessings must be non-liturgical in nature and should not be conferred at the same time as a civil. It states that people in irregular unions, gay or straight, are in a state of sin, but it said that
Da un lato si cita correttamente il termine coppie dello stesso sesso, dall'altro si utilizza coppie irregolari. Si mettono diversi paletti per dire non è matrimonio, non è niente che possa essere comparato al matrimonio tra uomo e donna. Questo ovviamente per chi
for those like us,
come noi,
homosexuals, etc., who live their condition as a couple, this is obviously not acceptable in an absolute sense.
Però ci riconosciamo che è un
But we recognize that it is a great step forward. The document states that people seeking God's love and mercy shouldn't be subject to an exhaustive moral analysis to receive it. I mean, come on, folks. What do you think is actually going on here that the Pope Francis is giving permission for same-sex marriages? It is clearly written in the Holy Bible that it is sin. There are things that I would like to read to you that says about false prophets. It says in religion, a false prophet is a person who falsely claims the gift of prophecy or divine inspiration, or to speak for God, or who makes such claims for evil ends. Often, someone who is considered a true prophet by some people is simultaneously considered a false prophet. By others, even within the same religion as that espoused by the prophet in question. In a wider sense, a false prophet is anyone who, without having it, claims a special connection to a deity and sets him or herself up as a source of spirituality, as an authority, preacher, or teacher. Analogously, the term sometimes occurs outside the context of religion to characterize someone who fervently promotes a theory that the speaker thinks is false. Do you know any false prophets? Do you know people that tell you to do things that are sinful or will bend the rules to allow sin to get in against God's wishes? Do you know people like that? Well, I'm saying that Pope Francis is making same-sex marriages legal in the church, even though there's the same-sex homosexuals, lesbians would like this and think this is great. In the Bible, it is clearly sin. And this is accepting of sin in order to bring people in to tithe, make offerings, whatever, to expand the size, to accept more people so that they can accept the Catholicism, Pope Francis and all his priests, cardinals, and everything that goes along with it. I ask you to take a look at what the Bible says about false preachers. 2 Corinthians 11:13 through 15 reads, "For such men are false apostles, deceitful workmen, disguising themselves as apostles of Christ. And no wonder, for even Satan disguises himself as an angel of light. So it is no surprise if his servants also disguise themselves as servants of righteousness. Their end will correspond to their deeds. 2 Peter 2, 1 through 3. But false prophets also arose among the people, just as there will be false teachers among you, who will secretly bring in destructive heresies, even denying the master who bought them, B-O-U-G-H-T, bought them, bringing upon themselves swift destruction, and many will follow their sensuality, and because of them the way of truth will be blasphemed. And in their greed they will exploit you with false words. The condemnation from long ago is not idle, and their destruction is not asleep. 1 John 4:1. Beloved, do not believe every spirit, but test the spirits to see whether they are from God. For many false prophets have gone out into the world. Matthew 7:15. Beware of the false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing. Think about it. Sweet, sensitive little sheep. They come to you like they're in sheep's clothing, but inwardly are ravenous wolves. They'd eat you alive. 2 Timothy 4:3 through 4. For the time is coming when people will not endure sound teaching, but having itching ears, scratch. They will accumulate for themselves teachers to suit their own passions, and will turn away from listening to the truth and wander off into myths. Now, do we really want that? Matthew 24:24 says, for false Christs and false prophets will arise and perform great signs and wonders, so as to lead astray, if possible, even the elect. 2 Peter 2:1 reads, but false prophets also arose among the people who are, just as there will be false teachers among you who will secretly bring in destructive heresies, even denying the master who bought them, bringing upon themselves swift destruction. Matthew 7:21 through 23. Not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom of heaven, but the one who does the will of my Father who is in heaven. On that day many will say to me, Lord, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name and cast out demons in your name and do many mighty works in your name? And then will I declare to them, I never knew you. Depart from me, you workers of lawlessness. Come on. False prophets do these things, lawlessness stuff. Go against God. And they'll be pleading, Lord, Lord, didn't I do everything I should have done? Like they didn't know. Jesus will know the difference. You can't fool Jesus. You can't manipulate Jesus or God. You can act like you think you can in front of people, but you can't do it to God. There is no way to get lies past God. You can't do it. God knows the difference between a lie and the truth, for out of God's mouth comes the truth. He knows the difference. There's no way you can play it any other way on this planet. No way. Matthew 7:15 through 16. Beware of false prophets who come to you in the sheep's clothing, but inwardly are ravenous wolves. You will recognize them by their fruits. Are grapes gathered from thorn bushes or figs from thistles? Think about it. These are the words coming from the Bible that the Lord wants you to understand, marinate in, to get what he's trying to tell you, to learn. Reading the Bible is beneficial to you. It will bring you closer to what the Lord intends for you. Yes, there are 10 commandments. You should look at them, you should understand them, and you should do every one of them. Does God know we're not perfect? Sure does. He's willing to understand. He's willing to forgive, but there is a point where you can cross over and you can manipulate and hurt and destroy his children and everything that God has created. And there's a point where he won't accept that. And you'll know you've crossed that point because you will be separated from the love of God. And there's the big one. Once you are separated from the love of God, you will know that you have crossed the line. I hope you can come back. I hope you can ask for forgiveness. I hope the Lord will send you a rope and allow you to find your way back. But it'll require work like everything else does in this life. Prove to yourself and prove to God that you really want to know him and that you really want to live his way of life that he has instructed us to live. Make those choices that make a huge difference in the world. You've got to.